Hello everyone, once again welcome back, and first of all happy new year to each and every student out here, and especially to all my subscribers. And today it's the continuation of competency based question series in biology, and today we'll be doing chapter life process, and the next video it will be on the next chapter, that is our environment. Okay, so we'll be doing the life process. I hope you have seen the earlier videos that was there regarding the earlier chapters, so please have a look. If you have still not gone through it, it will be there in the description box below. You can click on the link given there. Okay, so let's start with the first question. It's a case-based question. So William Harvey was one of the early biologists who studied the bodies of humans and animals. He even dissected the bodies and did experiments with the heart and blood vessels. Okay, he concluded from his experiments that the blood leaves the heart through the arteries and returns via the veins. However, he could not explain how blood left the arteries to enter the veins. He said that there must be some structures between the arteries and veins, but he could not find them. Marcello Malfigi later discovered these structures while studying a dead frog's lungs under a microscope. Okay, that's the experiment performed by William Harvey, and later Marcello Malfigi gave the answer for that undiscovered thing. Now the question is, which of the following structures did Malfigi find in the frog? So out of that, so something was missing between the arteries and veins. Okay, so that was being found by Marcello Malfigi. So so out of these four options, what will be the correct answer? Okay, so if you see here, so it should be the capillaries. Okay, that's the answer. Next question, what is the most likely reason why Harvey could not find these structures? Option A, these structures are not found in humans. B, found only in the lungs. C, becomes visible only in dead animals. D, the structures were too small to be seen by the naked eye. So in this case it will be option D, that is the last one. Okay, so it cannot be seen by the naked eye, so so that's why he was not able to find it out. Okay, so let's move to the next one. Which of the following statements about arteries and veins are true? Okay, so for arteries and veins, which of the statements are true? Option A, arteries have thicker walls than veins. Veins have thicker walls than arteries. Option C, all arteries carry only oxygenated blood. Option D, all veins carry only deoxygenated blood. So out of this, which is the correct answer? So here option A will be the correct answer, because arteries walls are always thicker than the veins. Okay, veins carry deoxygenated blood, arteries carry oxygenated blood. Okay, so the option A is correct, and option C cannot be. All arteries do not carry oxygenated blood and all veins do not carry deoxygenated blood. Okay, except the pulmonary artery and the pulmonary vein in this case. So that is exception which is there for these two options. Okay, the pulmonary artery carry deoxygenated blood and the pulmonary vein carries the oxygenated blood. So that is an exception. So these two cannot be an option. So the first option A is correct. Which two chambers of human heart have arteries connected to them? Left atrium, left ventricle, right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium and right atrium, left ventricle and right ventricle. Okay, so which have arteries? So it's the D option, that is left ventricle and right ventricle. Okay, so if you see the heart structure of heart, if you see, so the left ventricle, okay, so here you see that's the aorta, and in the right ventricle there also you see the pulmonary artery, right? So that's, so these two are connected with the arteries. Okay, so these two chambers are connected with the arteries. Apart from that, the right atrium and the left atrium are not connected. Only the left and the right ventricles are connected. Okay, so option D is the correct option. So you should know the structure of heart, you should know how to draw it. Okay, so structure of heart is also important. Keep practicing, and labeling is must. Right, now coming to the next one, aerobic respiration requires, I hope you know what is aerobic respiration, anaerobic respiration. So aerobic means in presence of oxygen. Okay, that much you have to remember. It requires intake of oxygen to break down food to release energy. Now question is, name the structure through which gaseous exchange takes place in plants and human beings. So through which structures gaseous exchange takes place in case of plants and in human beings. So obviously in plants it will be the stomata or the guard cells, and in humans it will be the lungs or the alveoli present in the lungs. Okay. Next, name the structures that control the size of the chest cavity in humans to facilitate exchange of gases. So you should know the structure of respiratory system in humans, right? So if you see below the lungs, there is a structure. If you can guess, it is the diaphragm. Okay, so diaphragm will control the size of the chest cavity, so it will expand or collapse based on inhalation or exhalation. Next one, what is the process by which gas exchange occurs in plants? So I hope everyone knows this, that is nothing but diffusion. Gaseous exchange in plants occurs through diffusion. Okay. Why is the process named in C, that is diffusion, is not sufficient to carry oxygen throughout human body? So in case of human body, why it cannot be done through diffusion? Okay, so what is the reason behind it, and how is this complemented in humans to ensure that oxygen is carried to all parts of the body? So obviously through diffusion, so our human body is more complex, right? So here only through diffusion it will take a longer period of time for the process to occur, okay, for the gas exchange to occur, okay, because we are made up of complex arrangement of tissues and cells, so that is why it cannot happen, and it is done through hemoglobin that is present in the blood. So hemoglobin, so it carries oxygen in our blood, so it's a red color pigment that is present in the red blood cells, right? Now next question, reactions in living system can absorb heat or release heat. State whether the heat energy is absorbed or released during digestion. Also write the scientific term to denote the same. So during the digestion process, whether heat is absorbed or heat is released during digestion. So for digestion you always have the heat used up, okay, that is heat is absorbed, that is, now the scientific name is nothing but you have to say whether it is endothermic or exothermic. Now since heat is used up or heat is absorbed, so it will be a endothermic reaction. Okay, that's the answer for this question. Coming to the next one, I hope you can recognize this activity. So it's a common question. Given below is an image of an experiment conducted by a student to understand the process of respiration. He blows into a clear solution present in the test tube and sees that it turns cloudy. So it was a clear solution. After blowing in air, he found that the test tube became cloudy. Okay, what is the most likely substance present in the test tube? So if he is blowing out, that means he is blowing out carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide turns milky. What is that solution? That is the answer there. Here also they have asked. Okay, so it is nothing but lime water, that is calcium hydroxide, right? So either you write dilute aqueous solution of calcium hydroxide or you write lime water. Directly if you write lime water also, that is also correct. But if you are mentioning calcium hydroxide, don't directly write calcium hydroxide. You have to say dilute aqueous solution, okay, of calcium hydroxide. Otherwise it will be wrong. So you should write the full complete sentence. It should be an aqueous solution, dilute aqueous solution of calcium hydroxide. What could be the aim of his experiment? So obviously it is blowing out carbon dioxide, so it has to be related to carbon dioxide. So to check the carbon dioxide is released during respiration. Okay. Third one, what kind of respiration is shown in the experiment? So here carbon dioxide is given out. So they are asking whether it's aerobic or anaerobic. So obviously it has to be aerobic because anaerobic respiration does not occur in human cells, so that is fermentation does not occur. So it has to be aerobic because since it is in the picture is given a boy is shown there, so obviously it is talking about the humans. So it has to be aerobic respiration. Okay. Although carbon dioxide is released both in aerobic and anaerobic, it is a product that is it is produced. So but since it is a human, so it has to be a aerobic respiration. Next, coming to the assertion reasoning part. Assertion: desert plants take in carbon dioxide for photosynthesis during the night. Okay, so check here, desert plants take in carbon dioxide for photosynthesis during the night. Reason: in desert plants, the stomatas are closed during the day to conserve water by reducing transpiration. So you have to say out of this which one is correct. So obviously it will be option A, because in desert, in dry, humid conditions, or in where temperature is more high temperature, where in areas of high temperature, so mostly in deserts. So the plants, what they do, they, lots of water takes place. So what happens? The stomata closes during the daytime, right? So that time, in order to preserve the water by the process of transpiration, so that is why the stomatas are closed. And the desert plants, what happens, they take in carbon dioxide during the night. Okay, absorption of carbon dioxide takes place during the night, and photosynthesis, yes, it occurs in the daytime, but the absorption of carbon dioxide, because for that the stomata has to open, and that can happen only during the night time. In daytime the stomatas are closed, so carbon dioxide gas cannot be taken in, right? So that is why both the statements are correct, and it is the correct explanation. Next one, there are different nutrients required by the human body. These are in three major categories of carbohydrate, fats and proteins, apart from vitamins, minerals and roughage. That is the nutrients that is required by the humans. Now question is, digestion of nutrient R happens in the stomach. Identify. So out of this, which digestion occurs in the stomach? So in the stomach, so out of carbohydrates, fats and proteins, what happens in the stomach? Which part is digested in the stomach? So R is nothing but it has to be protein, since it is stomach, so protein. And consider fats and oil from your diet as large globules in a digestive system tract. Name the reaction that can help in making this easier to absorb. So breaking down of flat globules into smaller globules is nothing but emulsification. Okay, so the answer is emulsification. What is the difference in the kind of medium required for digestive enzymes in the stomach and the small intestine? So always remember, for the stomach it has to be an acidic medium, otherwise the enzymes won't get activated, and in case of small intestine it has to be alkaline medium. Okay, stomach के लिए acidic medium होगा, small intestine के लिए alkaline. So these two you keep in mind. Okay, so that's the answer they have asked. So alkaline medium for intestine, acidic medium for the stomach. I hope it is clear. Let's move to the next one. Again, structure of heart are given. Figure P and Q shows the state of the heart at stages of the cardiac cycle, that is the pumping of the blood, right? Identify the blood pressure values that will be obtained at the stages of the heart shown in figure P and Q for a normal person at rest. Okay, so it's a normal person heart which is at rest. Okay, he's not active, he's just at rest position. So pumping of the blood is occurring at the rest position. Okay, so you have to say what will be the blood pressure at figure P, what will be the blood pressure at figure Q. So the question is an indirect question. That means it is nothing but they are asking for the what is the systolic and diastolic pressure in both the condition. So here one is, if you see, so one is the systolic, one is the diastolic. So you have to find out which one is systolic, which one is diastolic. Now you see here, where are the arrows? So from this side, right? So here, so that means it is the ventricles are contracting and pumping it to the aorta. That means it is systolic. This has to be systolic. So systolic pressure is the pressure, maximum pressure through which when the ventricles contract, right? And diastolic is opposite, when it's the minimum pressure that is released. Okay, so that are required for the blood to pass on from the atrium to the ventricles, or the minimum pressure that is required. So that has to be from here, because it is coming from the atrium. You see the arrows, follow the arrows, that way you check. Okay, so it is entering the ventricle, so that has to be diastolic. So and systolic is how much? 120, and diastolic is 80. Normal blood pressure range is 120 by 80. So systolic is nothing but the upper range, that is 120. Okay, so that's the answer. So they have asked, so you see the arrows where it is pointed. So if it is from the ventricles to the aorta, that means it is talking about systolic pressure. Next one, in the digestive tract, food is moved forward by rhythmic contraction of muscles lining the tract. The process is called peristalsis. I hope you know what is peristalsis, right? The rhythmic movement of food in the gut, right? So the food, when we swallow, when we eat the food, then it slowly moves through the stomach, and it moves in a rhythmic movement. That is called peristalsis. Now you have to say all the parts of the digestive tract that has peristalsis. Okay, so you have to list all the parts of the digestive tract in which peristalsis occurs. So you should know where the peristalsis movement occurs in all the part of your digestive system. where it is occurs. So you have to name those parts. Okay, so you have to start from the mouth. So that is nothing from here. The when you eat the food, that means through the mouth. That means from pharynx you have to start. Okay, pharynx, the esophagus, your stomach, even your anus also has peristaltic movement. Intestines, right? So small, large intestine along with the anus. So these are the 6 parts of the digestive tract where peristalsis occur. Remember this. Next one, in most adults, the left atrium is separated from the right atrium by a septum to prevent the oxygen-rich blood in the left atrium from mixing with the blood containing a higher amount of CO2 in the right atrium. Okay, so in adults वो क्या होता है, left atrium and right atrium are separated by a wall. Yes, why is that wall there? To prevent oxygen blood, so there is no mixing of oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood. Okay, एक तरफ oxygen rich blood होगा, that is in the left atrium, and एक तरफ होगा deoxygenated blood, that means the blood containing carbon dioxide in the right atrium. Okay, the question, then what is the part they are saying? The patent foramen oval, PFO. Okay, it's a hole in the septum separating the left and the right atrium. Okay, now there is a wall, as I said. Now in the wall there is a small hole called as PFO, left and right atrium. Upper, that is the upper chambers of the heart. Okay, so left and right atria are present in the upper chamber. So in the upper chamber, the wall contains a small hole called as PFO. This hole exists in everyone before birth. Okay, so when you are before birth, so all the babies, they have this hole, but most often closes shortly after baby is born. So once the baby is born, that hole closes. Okay, before that, when it is in the mother's womb, that hole is still there. That means mixing of the blood is going on, right? Because if there is no hole, that means no mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood is occurring. But at the birth, what is happening? The hole is small hole is there at the birth. Okay, now question is, explain why the hole in the septum separating the atria does not cause problems in a baby before it is born. अगर oxygenated and deoxygenated blood is mixing through the hole, that it should have caused the problem for the baby in the mother's womb, right? लेकिन वो नहीं होता है. Why it is not happening? Okay, even though there is a mixing, there is no problem for the baby. I think when the baby is unborn, okay, that time what is happening? So from where the baby is getting all the nutrients and everything? So that is through the mother's blood, right? Through the placenta. The mother's blood is already the heart of the mother's blood, that is already being filtered. I mean, oxygenated, deoxygenated blood is separate, right? So there is no mixing. So the baby is getting all the blood through the mother, right? So that means even though the baby is having a hole in the heart, in the septum, so it won't matter, because baby will get the blood only through the mother. Right, so that's the answer you have to say. Baby will not use its own lungs when it is growing in the mother's womb. Okay, or you can also write, the hole in the septum does not cause problems in an unborn infant, as the developing embryo gets nutrition and oxygen from the mother's blood through the placenta and the umbilical bone. So that's why it's not a problem, because it is getting it from the mother's blood, because baby is not using its own lungs, so there won't be any problem. Okay. Next one, so again related to your heart, shown below are a diagrammatic representation of the circulatory system of 3 organisms, X, Y and Z. Question A, identify which organism is a fish. Give a reason for in support of your answer. Okay, and option B, identify the organisms that does or do not require energy to maintain their body temperature. So 2 questions are being given. First, let us identify out of these 3 X, Y and Z organism, which one is the fish. So in order to be a fish, now you have to remember what is the circulation in fish, whether it is single circulation, double circulation, how many chambers are there. Now fish have 2 chambers. Now if you see here, so here you see this is 4 chamber, right? So here it is, here 1, here, okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so here and here you see, here is 2 chamber, 1, 2, right? And you see here it is 1 single circulation, here you see double circulation, here 1, here 1, here also it is double circulation. So in fishes we have single circulation, so organism X has to be the fish. Now that's the so justify it. So fishes have 2 chamber heart, and fishes blood passes through the heart only once during 1 cycle. Okay, so that's why this is the correct option. And identify the organism that does not require energy to maintain the body temperature. That has to be organism X and Y. Okay, for humans and mammals, that is organism Z. Okay, fishes, birds, this is birds. Okay, so they do not require energy for the to maintain their body temperature. So these two will not require energy, whereas Z will require energy. Why? Because we are so here we are not warm blooded, here they are cold blooded. Okay, so that's why uh, they do not require energy. That is organism X and organism Y. I hope I am clear. Next one, plants and animals give out carbon dioxide all the time. Is this statement true or false? And justify answer. Plants and animals, yes, they give out carbon dioxide all the time. Now, how will you justify it? So, answer will be true. And plant, because their respiration occurs continuously in case of plants as well as animals, right? That is why, since respiration occurs continuously, so carbon dioxide as a product is given out continuously. So, that is the answer for this question. Next one. Katie thinks that the fresh dialysing fluid that enters the dialysis machine is rich in urea. Is she correct? Why or why not? I hope you know the dialysing, what is dialysis, right? And those who are having kidney problems, those patients, they undergo dialysis. Okay, so urea, the blood containing urea, it is filtered out through the dialysis machine. Now she is asking, she is saying that fresh dialysing fluid that enters the dialysis machine is rich in urea. Is she correct or is she not? You have to justify. And urination is a voluntary, involuntary, or both voluntary and involuntary process. Two questions are there, two different questions. Okay. First, we'll talk about the dialysis. So, in dialysing fluid, imagine if urea is already present. Okay. So, in order to filtration to occur in the dialysing fluid, so blood will contain urea. So if the fluid also dialysing fluid, fresh fluid, the dialysis machine is also contains urea, then there won't be any reabsorption or exchange of urea take place, right? So filtration will not occur because there is no concentration gradient. There is no difference in the concentration. So osmosis or absorption, filtration will not occur at all. So this is wrong. Okay. So during dialysis, whatever nitrogenous waste is that is urea is also a nitrogenous waste. Once it leaves the blood, it will enter the dialysing fluid through the process of diffusion because of the concentration difference. Okay, and that is why so urea cannot be present already in the fresh fluid in the dialysis. Otherwise, urea from the blood will not get excreted in the dialysing fluid. So, it has to be free of urea. The dialysing fluid has to be free of urea. Then only the urea from the blood can be transferred through the process of diffusion through the dialysing fluid. Okay. Urination is a voluntary involuntary. So answer is both voluntary and involuntary. So whenever you want to go, has the urge of going for urination, that is voluntary. Involuntary also, yes. Why? Because it is controlled by and you can also control it because it is all about your it is controlled by the nervous system. So that is why it is both voluntary and involuntary. Okay. In diabetic patients with high blood glucose level, okay, diabetic, we always see glucose level is high during diabetic patients. The urine sample also consists of high level of glucose. This is mainly because in the nephron, glucose is not reabsorbed back into the blood. Explain why does reabsorption does not take place in 2 points you have to explain. Okay, same like the urea one. So if already the blood is has high level of glucose, okay, and in the nephron where the reabsorption is taking place, so if there is no difference in concentration, so there won't be your reabsorption will not occur because already it is full of glucose, so there won't be exchange. Okay, so that is your answer. So the absorption of nutrients in nephron is a process mainly driven by osmosis, and when some of the glucose from the blood is filtered in the urine, it does not get reabsorbed as the concentration of glucose is already high in the blood. Okay, if it is already high, so it cannot be done, and so there is little or no concentration gradient causing glucose to be retained in the urine. So that's two keywords are there. One is the level of glucose is high in the blood and there won't be osmosis. Why? Because of there won't be because the concentration gradient will be less or negligible. These two are the keywords for this answer. Next one, in respiration, glucose is broken down into a 3-carbon molecule called pyruvate in the cytoplasm. Okay, here it is given. So so respiration occurs either in cytoplasm or in mitochondria. Is this particular process aerobic or anaerobic in nature? Justify answer. Now you see where it is taking place, cytoplasm, right? So cytoplasm means it has to be anaerobic, not aerobic. Aerobic will be mitochondria, cytoplasm, so it will be anaerobic. Okay. Next one, the graph below shows the hours of the day during which a plant absorbs carbon dioxide. Number A, in what kind of weather condition is this plant likely to be growing? Give a reason to support your answer. And number B, when is the photosynthesis likely to happen in such plants? Now you see a graph is being given, so amount of carbon dioxide absorbed is there given here, and you see the timing here. Okay, so already timing is mentioned here. You see the carbon dioxide absorption timing 3:40 a.m. and finishes at 8:35 a.m. That is early morning, right? In the daytime, no absorption is taking, it is decreasing, right? It is maximum during between 3:40 and 8:35, and after it has started declining. That means during the daytime there is no absorption of carbon dioxide, right? So that means what type of weather conditions? Obviously it has to be desert or dry conditions, right? High temperature. So there only the daytime no carbon dioxide absorption takes place, only at the night time it occurs. So photosynthesis will likely to happen during the daytime, but absorption of carbon dioxide will take place during night time. Okay, so that's the answer. So dry and arid conditions, or desert also you can write. So indicate, so daytime it is no gaseous exchange, so stomata is likely to be closed, which is common in dry conditions, and photosynthesis will occur in the daytime. So that's the answer for this. Next one, the last one. The picture below shows a cow looking for food in the garbage. Very often while eating some food, the animal also swallows plastic. Okay, you must have seen this happening. The plastic that the animal swallows remains undigested and accumulates in the stomach. Okay, so that's very dangerous for the cow. This eventually leads to starvation, as there is less and less space for real food. Give one reason for plastic remaining undigested in a cow's stomach. Now why it is happening? Because cow's stomach does not produce the enzymes to digest plastic, right? We don't have enzymes to digest plastic. That's why what is happening, whatever plastic it is swallowing, so it is remaining in the stomach. Okay, so what is happening, this plastic is cannot be given out, so it remains in the stomach, and slowly what is the space inside the stomach becomes less and less. Okay, so that's why it leads to starvation, and as a result what will happen, so the cow will ultimately die. Okay, there is no enzymes produced by the cow to break down and digest the plastic material, which is harmful for the cow. Okay, so that's it for today, and the next video is on our environment chapter, so we'll be doing it soon. Okay, and if you like my channel, do subscribe, and if you have any other doubts, let me know in the comment section, and like, share and comment, and thank you all for joining me.